Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the second segment of the Day 2 Educators Retreat Fireside Chat. Are you there? Come on, this is the second Fireside Chat we're going to be having for this retreat. It's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be, I'm telling you, if you thought you've gotten something from Lady Chinwe, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to get something interesting from this beautiful, wonderful ladies that I'm about to call up right now. And these are first timers to each care network, first timers to the Educators Retreat. And I tell you, the conversations today is really going to be quite interesting because we're going to be discussing a topic for me that is dear to my heart, which really applies to everyone here. It applies to you, it applies to me. In fact, it even speaks more to what we are currently doing, this activity right now. And then, of course, it speaks to a whole lot of other things that is happening within the education space. And that is cross-border partnerships and advocacy, driving educational transformation, driving education for global transformation. I'm going to take that again. Cross-border partnership and advocacy, driving education for global transformation. And I'm going to be doing this with the two most amazing people that are best fitted for this topic, Manal, Al-ansi, and Adora, Igunma. And I'm going to be calling them up right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start with Manal, Al-ansi. Matt, ESQ, that's Esquire. For those of you that don't know what it means, right? Very good. Manal, Al-ansi is an accomplished educator turned attorney and a senior executive renowned for her strategic vision, equity-centered leadership, and innovative approach to transforming education systems. As the founder and CEO of Diaspora District, she leads a global platform dedicated to building stronger pathways from the classroom to career through cross-sector collaboration and capacity building. With over a decade of experience at the highest levels of government, Manal is a thought leader in systems analysis, strategic development, and organizational growth. Her unique expertise at the intersection of law, education, and workforce development enables her to design transformative policies and cultivate impactful partnerships. She's been in the classrooms, she's been in executive coaching, she's been at different levels of education, and she brings all this experience to the conversation today. Through Diaspora District, she leads a global movement amplifying the leadership and expertise of African diaspora, of the African in diaspora, while creating enduring pathways for educational and professional success. Ladies and gentlemen, educators, change makers from all over the world, join me as I welcome for her first time in Fireside Chat at the Educators Retreat at H Network, Manal, Al-ansi. You're welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. Maybe you should say hi to everyone first before I bring up Igunma.
No worries. I appreciate you all welcoming me in this space. I'm excited to be a part of this discussion. Very happy to be here today.
Awesome. Again, for another first timer at the Educators Retreat and the Each Network is no other but Adora, Igunma, Ogunyomi. I got that right? You're smiling. That's very good. Adora Igunma Ogunyomi is a distinguished leader in education, renowned for her dedication to creating dynamic learning environments and fostering intellectual growth. She's currently serving as the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Program Facilitator for the Anglophone West School District of New Brunswick. Admin. Thank you. And please, let's be careful if you're not speaking, if you're not called to speak, let's not unmute our mics. She's currently serving, like I said, as the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Program Facilitator for the Anglophone West School District of New Brunswick. Adora leads innovative initiatives to promote inclusivity, and equity in education. Outside our professional endeavors, Adora is the visionary founder of the Fresh Look Africa, TFLA, a social enterprise dedicated to improving teaching standards across Africa. The organization has gained recognition from prestigious platforms like UNESCO, Learning Planet Festival. Oh, UNESCO's Learning Planet Festival. That's interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, with your virtual claps, I know they are not busy. I want you to help me. Join me as I welcome, for the first time in the Educators Retreat and Each Network, for our first fireside chat in this retreat, Adora, the phenomenal and transgenerational Adora Igunma Ogunyomi. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Thank you. Right. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Very good. First of all, let me pin the both of you to everybody. First of all, because this is going to be this fireside is going to be fire. So let me pin the both of you for everyone before we even get started with this conversation. So you're seeing everyone that is, so that's exactly how we're supposed to be. Very good. Very good. Okay. Very good. All right. Now, okay. So today, our conversation today is going to be quite interesting. Very, very interesting because, like I said, we're talking about cross-border partnerships and advocacy. Cross-border partnerships and advocacy. Remember, at the focus of our Educators Retreat 4.0 is Education for Global Transformation, a call for transgenerational leaders. And when you speak of cross-border partnerships, it means we're talking about global transformation. If global transformation is going to happen, like what you're seeing we're doing with the retreat as an epitome of global, is interacting with different stakeholders from different parts of the globe. And who others? I mean, look at Adora. Adora is joining us all the way from, she's currently in the US, but she works and resides in Canada. Manal Al-ansi is, she's currently in Ghana, enjoying the beautiful state country. Ghana, she was in Nigeria, and from Nigeria she went to Ghana, but she resides in America. And these people bringing their diverse experience, and of course I'm in Nigeria here, bringing their diverse experience to have this conversation. By the way, Adora, how is Annabelle?
She's fine. She's asleep. I hope she doesn't wake up anytime soon.
Interesting. For those of you that the reason why I had to pause to ask her this question is because this is 2 a.m. right now, around 2 a.m. in the United States.
Because I'm currently in Denver, so it's 3:44 right now. Yeah.
Think about that. A.m. I didn't say p.m. It's a.m. She's awake in the middle of the night. That is the commitment that we're getting from the conversation today. So let's have that in mind as we delve into this. And by the way, Annabelle, I'm asking, is her beautiful daughter. So congratulations on that. We're equally celebrating with you on that wonderful stuff. But today, I want to welcome the both of you for this very wonderful conversation. Again, yesterday we talked about doing the keynote. We shared a lot of amazing things, setting the stage for the conversation. We talked about the generational divide. We talked about the global impact that must be made. We talked about how we can cross beyond borders. We've talked about crossing the generational borders. But this time around, we have to talk about crossing the geographical borders. How do we make reach? How do we extend the reach of our impact as educators? How can we collaborate? Collaboration is something that you do not find so much in the education space. Sadly, I tell you the truth, especially in Nigeria. I'm telling, at least from my own experience in Nigeria, collaboration is not so much that happens. Everybody believes that everybody's in competition with one another. A school is doing something because they want to do it because another school is doing it. And they feel that if I do it, I can compete and I can do better than what the other school is doing. That is the reason why, that's the motivation for most people when it comes to doing things. So it's no longer impact. We're now profit driven. We're no longer impact driven. And a lot of it's showing in our communities. But the most other important part is the advocacy. We don't talk much about education. The energy, the interest, everything that should be done on education is not given. Someone said something yesterday, the leaders, so the last question, I think it was Pius that asked that question, that the leaders usually graduate, and they graduate from the classroom, and then they don't want to come back to the classroom again. I said, what are you saying? The leaders we have don't even go to the classroom. They don't even know what classroom look like. They don't know what the trenches look like to just widen the context and not make it just about classroom. They don't even know what the trenches look like. So we have leaders that are not in touch with our feelings. They're not in touch with the realities of what is happening with us. And these are the people that are leading us. But today we're going to be talking about how do we encourage cross-border partnerships, collaborations to achieve maximum impact. But also, how can we begin to amplify our voices as educators? Someone asked a question to Don yesterday, and he says, how do we solve the educational problem in Nigeria? And the question that the answer I wanted to give to that person is listen. And I said, Dawn is not going to solve the problem for you. Dawn is all the way in Bermuda. She is not going to solve Nigeria's problem. Nigerians are going to solve Nigeria's problem. Guess what? Educators are going to solve education problem. It is you that will solve it. You are the catalyst. And today we're going to be discussing all that today with the both of you. So again, you're welcome. You're welcome. Today, of course, we're not going to just discuss lofty ideas. We're going to get into the very transformative, practical approaches and steps for us to take that can really, transform our world. And something that is interesting about the both of you, Adora and Manal, is that you both run platforms that advocate for education. But before we get into that part, I think the question I'm going to ask is, why cross-border partnerships, really? When we talk about cross-border partnerships, why is it important? Why is it important for global transformation? Why is it important for, what's the power within that? What power does those partnerships hold, to be able to bring us to really that global transformation that we are calling for? And I'm going to start with Manal and then Adora.
Thank you. So I completely agree with you. Cross-border partnerships are incredibly important. One of the reasons why is because ultimately we're trying to impact society, culture, systems, and human beings. And despite having maybe common culture, being whatever the commonalities we may have in our classrooms, they're still very diverse human beings. And they're going to have diverse needs. And there are going to be an evolution of strategies to reach each of these different types of learners. And so the more learners you get together to talk about their strategies, what they've tried, what went right, what could be improved, what's currently working the best for them, it creates a sort of community of practice where educators can learn from other educators globally, and you have exposure to a diverse range of educators in a diverse range of environments, teaching a diverse range of human beings. So it'll just hone your craft more to understand how humans learn in all of these different environments and circumstances globally. So why limit ourselves to just learning from those around us, knowing that there's just a world of knowledge out there.
Interesting. That's powerful. So Adora, the question I have for you, before you answer this question, you're going to answer this question, but before you answer this question, I want us, in your experience, really, just start with explaining to us how you have seen education become a global force, on a global scale. How have you seen education serve as a catalyst for change and transformation? It can be positive, it can be negative, but what are some experiences you have when it comes to education being a global force for transformation, either positive or negative, and then you can double down to talk about the power of partnerships.
Okay, so thank you so much for the invite. First of all, I'll start with that first, and hello to everyone. So in my context, both the Nigerian context and also being able to work in the education sector in Canada or my province, which is New Brunswick, I'd
Right.
say that education, like I always tell people, that education is a weapon. It can either be it can either be used for good, or it can either be used for bad. And for some children, and maybe because it's a new generation where they don't see education as a need, and I'm talking of both formal and informal. They don't see it as a need, and so some of them don't even want to think about education at all. But um education can, and I'm talking of both formal and informal. I don't want to just say, oh, just the
Right. Right.
classroom, right? So I've
Right.
seen it, in two different lights, where some students, or some, I like to, I call them children. Right? I don't know why, but let me say students, because I
Mm.
work more in the elementary level and maybe middle school
Right.
and high school levels, K to 12. So I see that some students, where they put their minds and their hearts to actually becoming better, there's this energy that comes from getting the right education. There's just this boost, because you just see that transformation all of a sudden, where you see a naive child. And this is my own experience as well. As a teacher, I had students coming into my classroom where some of them were naive, some of them were shy,
Mm.
and I'm able to teach them how to become leaders. I'm able to teach them how to speak up, how to use their voices. I push them into clubs. I push them, to do certain things. And then I'm out of that school environment, and they're calling me that, oh, Miss Adora, can you guess what position I took in the classroom? And I'm like,
Right.
oh, I trust you, like you came first. And she's like, yeah, but I also want other prizes, and they're telling me I
Mm.
want this, I want that. Or another one calling me, and I'm like, Miss Adora, I'm the head girl, right? For those people that don't understand that context, in Nigeria context, is just like the top position for leadership
Right.
in elementary school and middle school. And they're really excited, like, and it makes my heart warm, because I just knew that they had that potential, right? And that's what education
Right.
can do. It can draw the potential from students, and it can draw the potential from any child who you just choose to focus on, right? And
Right.
some people will tell you not to ever say a student is a dullard or a student is dull. Everyone has that potential. It just takes one teacher to actually see what they are capable of doing. And so that in that way, education has transformed that child's life forever, because that child is not going to go back into their shell, or go back to
Right.
saying I can't do anything, or go back to saying, oh, no one looks at my site, right? No one,
Right.
in the Nigerian parlance, some will just be like,
Right.
I don't get sense, nobody likes
Mm.
me,
Mm.
that
Nobody
kind of
send
thing. But
me.
meaning, like, some of them just feel like they don't have anything to offer anyone. And
Right.
that just goes out the window. But also the negative side as well is when some people in the older generation have painted a picture in a way that it seems education is not needed,
Right.
right? You ask a child, why are you not focusing in school, why are you not reading your books? They'll be like, did Bill Gates go to school? Did Mark I'm like,
Mm.
are you kidding me right now? Like,
Okay.
can you actually do your research to know what they actually do in their lives, right? So some people have painted bad examples to some kids. And also I'd say that sometimes the system is made in a way that doesn't speak to the students that they have. Something that will
Mm.
always preach is know your students, but the
Right.
system does not know its students. And so sometimes we lose out on the what we can do for our students in a particular
Mm.
season, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
I feel like, so those are just like the two sides to the coin for me, where if I say education is a weapon, it can either kill a child's morale sometimes, but
Right.
and it can actually be a booster for a child as well. But it just depends on the systems that are being put in place. It depends on the teachers, it depends on the school environment, a whole lot of factors, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it at
Amazing.
that. At that.
Amazing,
Yes.
amazing, amazing. That is quite interesting. That is really quite interesting. I love the way you were able to connect it to real impact, right? Because when those kids call you after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and they tell you this is the impact you had in my life, truly that is how global transformation happens. Because you have to understand the power of one. I said that yesterday. You must understand the power of one in the education space. You must understand the power of one. The domino effect from one is just so crucial, and is one that can span in many ways. One can be a nation. Two can be two nations. We have leaders. We don't have, primarily, if anything is happening in Nigeria right now, and everybody's going to call Tinubu, right? That's our leader. Could things be better if we had another leader? Could things be much worse if we had another leader? All these are people who were raised in a certain, so understanding and reinforcing that education truly is a catalyst for global transformation is something that I needed you to do, and you've been able to do that super, super well. And I'm coming to you, Manal. We talk about the silos a lot. And even in society, you discover that society is more, there are a lot of stereotypes and silos in society. For example, religion or ethnicity. We are divided across so many lines. So you are white, I am black. You are Christian, I am Muslim. You are this, I am that. And then we now have the academic, qualifications and status in society. So professor, doctor, and then the normal person, emperor, conqueror, champion. All these one way or the other silos that has been built, and subtly, without even being said, it one way or the other reinforces why we are individualistic, why we are isolated in our thinking. I want you to talk into that, and how exactly do we go about breaking these silos, that we, to the point where everybody in the education space, where we can really broaden the scope and say, this is truly what education is all about, and this is how everyone can get involved. Now.
Okay, I'm thinking, because I know you want me to answer it, but I don't know just how much you want me to answer it. But like I said yesterday, what you can look forward to is just a real raw conversation with me. So I'll get into it. It's a power strategy. So to be able to impact the system, you actually just have to understand the system you're in. And I guess it kind of goes to your first question and your second question in terms of like why it's so important that we pull from each other's strategies. Moving further from just learning from each other as a global community, we're all, not all, but a majority are trying to reform systems that come from the same roots. So these same colonial systems. Ultimately, what you just described is a divide and conquer tactic. If everybody felt unified, how would we be controlled? I don't want to go into an entire dissertation here, but I will say that the more conscious you become of the system you're in and these tactics, the more you can strategize to work around them, against them. And also some considerations to have it with that analysis is what type of human and social impactor am I trying to support these parents in building? How can I be a partner to these parents? What is my role as an educator, an educational leader, a politician, wherever you sit in this system? How am I going to support this community and this family in raising the next generation? That is a way of thinking about our roles in education that isn't common enough. We spoke the other day about a lot of instances where educators have environmental pressure from the schools, for example, even educational leaders in the school building leaders, they will feel pressure to teach to an exam, a specific exam, to make the end goal just passing that child on to the next grade. Let me just give them what they need just to get to this next grade. And it's just this minimalistic, bare minimum sort of pursuit versus assessing
Mm,
what is my contribution to this child's development upon graduation. And
right.
ironically, educators, like, we have the most transferable skills. Let me just tell you,
Mm,
educators make the best project managers. Educators make the best organizational leaders in terms of vision development and consciousness of operationalizing plans. Why? We lesson plan. We start from the end with the end in mind, and we backwards plan. It is just
right.
the nature of what we're doing. However, if we push that out and say, yeah, I'm teaching these students in second grade, what foundation needs to be laid so that over these next X amount of years, they can build upon a strong foundation, graduate, and be life and career ready? What do they need to know? What do they need to know how to do? What is their personal
Right.
development, their social emotional learning? Everything I just said is essentially lesson planning. These are all things we consider in one lesson. So if we apply that same analysis to a broader context and consider the systems that we're in, these more, colonial, anti-power building systems that a lot of us live under, we will be more conscious about how to best prepare the students to navigate those systems, assuming they will be there in 10 years or 15
Hmm.
years. So I'll just pause there. Um,
Amazing. Now, the very most striking thing that you said was when you said, become conscious. Become aware. Because just the awareness that the silos exist. An average person doesn't even understand what we just said until we said it. That truly we are divided across so many lines. It's not said, but it's just there. You just know that it's there. I was discussing with, who was I? It was my mom. I was discussing with sometime recently, and we were saying, I said, the poor kid and the rich kid were taught that they were poor or rich. The both of them were taught. No one opened their mouth to tell them you are poor. In some cases, they tell them, but it wasn't outrightly telling them that you are poor. They grew up and then just found out that truly they were, society broke them up in different classes. And understanding the system that you are in as an educator, as a school leader, understanding the natural tendency from just being in an environment like this can be the beginning to helping you breaking free from that. And Adora, I'm coming to you with this because partnerships is very important. Very, very important. You've gotten the Nigerian context, and I'm sure you understand what I'm saying when I say something like many schools would only do things because school A is doing it, not because it's. And then you rarely find a situation whereby there's a program and then all schools unified, not because they are pushed because of I feel that NAPS, for example, most all this decision like NAPS, they only exist because they are trying to come together and fight those regulations, etc. All those regulatory bodies, not necessarily because they really want to collaborate. I tell you the truth. Lady Chinwe is here. You can. Where's Lady Chinwe? Okay, you can. She's a chapter chairperson for NAPS. But truly, it's not their natural inclination to want to collaborate to learn. So it takes a village to raise a child, but a school decides that I have everything, replete knowledge I need for this child, for the children in my school. I don't want to get from any other person. I don't care what you guys are doing. But when I see you doing something like it's booming, I will copy it, I will do it more than you, and I'll brand it myself. How do we break free from that nonsense? How can we come together and begin to collaborate to really create impact? And what is impact for us? I think you should start by defining impact and walk it down to truly how we can collaborate.
The truth is I can't define impact for anybody or any school, but the main thing is I would always shout it out everywhere I go. Your students are your focus, right? Anything that will not benefit your students, chuck it out the window. I always tell, anytime I go for presentations or I am training teachers, I will always tell them, if it doesn't benefit your students, chuck it out the window. If it has to do with you, as a teacher, and like you're bringing it from your own perspective alone, and you feel like it's going to be good for your students without really understanding your students, then just throw it out the window, right? So one thing that I would say impact is it has to do with your students, and it has to be long term, and it has to be sustainable, right?
Right.
So if you're doing something that will not be positive, that is not long term, you for example, I'm not throwing shades. If you do it, I'm not saying it's bad. You go into a community and you give students a school bag, a book, and a biro with a pack of Indomie noodles, and you
Mm.
leave that community, I don't know what you're expecting. I don't know if that's what you call impact. You now go to your buyer and say, fed 100 kids, and that's it. In the next 5 years, they're not seeing you again. I don't know how you want to call that impact. Is it measurable? Like how do you know what you're doing is making sense in the next few
Right.
years? What will the kids come back to say at the end of the day? So I can't say, okay, this is what impact should be, but I can say what it can look like, right? So, which is what I've
Right.
already said. Then, speaking of
Mm.
the competition between schools in the education system, even between teachers, and it's something that we need to understand that it's an ecosystem.
Right.
The education sector is an ecosystem, and that's what comes to my mind when I'm running my own work or doing my own work as a teacher trainer, because sometimes
Mm.
you see some people doing things and you're like, oh my, I wish I could do that. But you
Right.
don't really have to do what they are doing. You can support what they are doing, right?
Ah.
You don't have to, okay, oh, they're sharing noodles. I'm going to share a bag of rice. Like, no, you
Mm.
don't. No, you don't have to. You can support, you
Mm.
can volunteer, you can send money to them. Between schools, you don't have to. Sometimes they want to start a whole new system, that they build a whole new system that another school has already built and has been working for them. Why not just work with that school to get on board with them, and then work with them to help your students, right? Some
Mm.
people, and looking at this from the social impact side of things, because as the end, I run an NGO as well for teachers, and
Right.
I,
Right.
I won't say that I'm going to start a free school right now.
Mm.
There are
Mm.
other people that are trying to build free schools that need money to get students into school. Why not
Right.
send them cash? Why not
Mm.
offer your services? Oh, I'm going to train your teachers for free,
Right.
right? We are an ecosystem is the first thing to understand. And for
Right.
schools that some of them just want to steal other people's clients. I do it better.
Mm.
I'll bring
Mm.
come to my school. I do it better.
Mm.
It doesn't work that way. Like, you have to look at the long term effects at the end of the day, because sometimes your school is losing, you're spending more money, that the money that you can use to help your students or help your teachers, you're spending it unnecessarily, right? So
Mm.
like Manal said, you just have to understand the systems. You have to know that sometimes even the system is working against you, and it's a mindset problem too within that system, that everything is competition. If this person is better than you are going to lose your client. My husband will always say that he was surprised at the way businesses were run in this part of the world, where you see like five hotels in the same space, you see five restaurants in the same space. But in Nigeria, if you open your restaurant and another restaurant wants to open beside you, you are going to tell them, no, you cannot open your restaurant beside my restaurant because we came here
Right.
first.
Mm.
But here they see it as good competition. Like, they want,
Mm.
because everybody has their customers, everybody. And so if
Right.
you don't even know your purpose, if you don't know what you are doing, if you don't have your vision, if you don't know
Mm.
what the impact that you're trying to drive, then if you don't know your uniqueness, your selling points, then why are you there? That means everybody's going to be a competition to you. You can't work with anybody.
Correct.
Like, you also ask, like, what's the purpose of education? So why are you there? Why are you
Mm-hmm.
why are you a school in the
Mm-hmm.
first place?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna stop there.
This is no. I mean, this is quite interesting. And you see, let me distill some of what I heard you say. The first thing you said is that it's an ecosystem. So what it means is, to bring in more context, to shed more light about what I understood by that, is that in this ecosystem, we have different niche, different habitats. That habitat can be called Greenville School, Manal-ansi schools,
Definitely.
Adora Leadership Institutes,
Definitely.
Pius Philip, whatever. The goal of the ecosystem is one, but there are several habitats.
Yeah.
The goal, listen, let me say it again. The goal of the ecosystem is one, which is why I love the fact that you painted the picture of what impact truly can look like. You know, it's relative, but we cannot lose sight of really the baseline. The baseline is the people. The baseline are the children. They are the people we are leading or the children in the classroom, you know, because we're talking about leadership across different divides. And you said that the impact has to be measured by the people. And when you are measuring impact on the people, it has to be long-term. It has to be long-term, so we can have different names. Our habitats can be different names. It can be Manal-ansi schools and Adora institutes, but we all have one goal. With that understanding, we can break free from a mindset of competition.
Yeah.
And then I can come to Manal-ansi schools and ask, hey, I'm running something in my institute, but I'm not sure how to do this. But I see that you do it so well. I see that you understand how this goes, and I love the impact it makes on your children. I love the impact it makes on your society, on your community. Could you come and help me in this area? Knowing that when you come and help me, so me who is, when I'm coming to Manal, Manal doesn't feel like, well, now I'm the boss. Manal understands that we are complementing each other, because if she is helping me, I'm in turn helping the ecosystem that we all believe in and we all live in, and then we can have that goal we want. I keep saying, because I want us to quickly wrap up on the conversation of collaboration and get into advocacy, which is a very important topic. I really want us to dwell on a lot. But I say this a lot. If we compete on education, for example, we compete in the agricultural sector, we compete in the business sectors, in different sectors. If we compete, we know the object of our competition. The object of our competition in those cases are either commodities, goods, services. If we compete in the education space, ladies and gentlemen, what exactly are we competing for? What is the object? You can't say object this time around, because the object you're talking about is people. Leaders, if you compete, you're competing and gambling with the life of people. What it means, you take away the impact and it becomes a self-fulfilling bad prophecy for yourself, for you and everybody that's following you at that point, because you're going to lead everybody to it just becomes like a factory system. Everybody's just going, no impact, nothing is being done, and that is not where we should be. Support one another. I'm looking forward to, you see, for example, look at the entertainment industry, how booming and successful it is. You see content creators coming together, doing something, creating this here and there, and you see how they are booming. You know, it's so sad. Who said that thing? It was Jack Ma, right? Jack Ma was the one that says foolish people know how to work together. I'm not calling anyone foolish here, please. I know I just finished talking about, and then I'm not saying this. I'm not calling. I'm just giving you. I'm just following up. I said, Jack Ma said, foolish people know how to work together, but smart people do not know how to work together. Smart people find it difficult to work together. We're educators. We're leaders. We're smart. We must find a way to work together. It says, but whenever smart people are able to work together, the impact will be so exponential. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a call to us. Manal, as we wrap up this particular segment of collaboration, I want you to speak into beyond classrooms, beyond schools, more even into societal collaboration, for example, with the government, with private companies. For example, of course, you know, in our midst, we have leaders, captain of industries, entrepreneurs, leaders in the government, policy advisors in different areas. What are you going to say? How are you going to encourage this cross-border collaboration on this level to make sure that we truly achieve the goal that we want? Beyond school to school, teacher to teacher, what can you say to us to open our mind to the need, even to that collaboration beyond even the school environment or education environment, even down to society, understanding that even to media and everything, like we talked about, how does all that come together and how can we collaborate to achieve maximum and lasting impact?
Okay, so I want to take a step back in answering that. I kind of want to address some points that both of you have made that I thought were really important. One, well, let me just start from to collaborate locally or globally. I actually disagree and think you should never assume we all have the same goal. There are a lot of people in this work that do not have that goal, but they have power, they have access, they have positionality. So just understand that's there, because a lot of what hurts us in this work is that we don't understand the players in the system, and we end up in a pitfall assuming alignment. So that's one, which I'll come back to answer your current question. What I really appreciated about what Adora was saying in terms of the ecosystem and being able to identify and articulate your selling points is you can reduce competition, which I think essentially was your point, Adora, if you know what part of the system you're impacting. So we're not over here just duplicating each other's work. You don't need to compete with me. Like, for example, Diaspora District, we are very honed in on one specific aspect of education, and it's closing the gap between classroom and career.
Right.
There's so much, there's an entire world around that aspect of education. But this is our chunk. And we target educational leaders, community leaders, political leaders, industry leaders. But guess who I need? I also need the folks that are working directly with educators to develop capacity there. I need to work with the folks who are in community, working with family partners and supporting families and how to continue building capacity when kids get home. You know, and the list goes on. People who have more political sway and can lobby and influence for a more equitable education. I need to work with them as well so they can do that in their sector. And so understanding the ecosystem as everyone identifying, like, what is my piece of the pie that I need to focus on, and then make sure and try to rally and coalition build and community build, collaborate, so we create that alignment. But I never go in assuming it. Everyone has a different interest. A building leader has a different interest in educating a child than a parent may, than an educator may, than the local governing party or administration. They may have different interests in terms of what they need. So we may have an initial goal of getting a student to graduation or to giving them X amount of education for what? Like, what our purpose in doing that is a wide range. So my initial advice is always to analyze what your interest convergence point is. That's locally or globally, meaning where, like, if there's a Venn diagram of your interests and an organization's or another person's or a family's or a community's or even the student themselves, figure out what that gray area is in the middle, that overlapping area in that Venn diagram. Where do we align? And you start there. That's where you start. You want to find allies abroad. You want to find partners locally. You need to figure out who would build momentum through partnering to you, because you're both working on one thing. Now, those 5 other things that they're doing, these 6 other things that you're doing, that might not be your point of collaboration, but you can collaborate on this one thing. So start there. And then over time, there may be more things and more partnerships. But I always say start with interest convergence, because that is how you relationship build. And then despite what someone's why is or what their true desired outcomes are, you can identify a shared purpose, even if it's temporarily, to move the work forward.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I wish we understood what everything she just said now. This is so powerful, because if we're talking about global collaboration, it was something that Dawn said yesterday. It was a quote from Mary Meyer, I believe. We are different. We are the same, but we are different. I hope I got that. Something, it sounds something like that. So though the ecosystem should be purported to have a unique or a general goal, we should still understand that interest would vary across the lines of collaboration, across the stakeholders, across the habitats. So you must not assume alignment. That was so striking, because I don't want the same thing. As much as you want me to be very interested in transforming the life of people, well, that's a general transformation impact. That's a general stuff to think about. But not everybody thinks about just that. Of course, you've got to eat, you've got to do this. So there are a lot of other things. There are a lot of other narratives and agenda. Like I said yesterday, we have to really adopt agenda-driven education. People have their own agenda and narratives. You have to understand, where does this interest aligns? Start there. There has to be, we must know how to compromise to start. It's not a negative compromise. It's just it's a compromise necessary. Just like we say, yeah, thank you for that. We are all the same and we're all different. Hey, Mara 2014. Thank you so much for that, Maxine. So you have, it becomes we complementing each other, because if I know what you're going to be bringing, if I know the value that you are going to be bringing, I will be more motivated to maybe take a step. Maybe when I take a step, maybe when I start with you, I can then realize that, oh, it's deeper than what I saw. Maybe I cannot have real change. One of the things I wish we would all learn is what I call the foot in the door strategy. You must know how to get your foot in the door, especially with collaborations. If you must collaborate on a global scale, which we should all be interested in doing, know how to meet people, know how to meet people at their point of need. Hey, so you're doing this. These are the things I'm going to bring for you. These are the interests I'm going to give to you. This is what this is going to bring for you. I'm going to use this to either bring you visibility. Some people are either looking for visibility. They're either looking for track record. Some people are looking for they're just trying to build. Maybe some is just money, right? You have to understand what are their interests so that you can know how to play into their narrative, right? And then whilst being confident enough to show them through your excellent process and delivery passionately what is the bigger picture, and gradually you can then stand a chance to get them into that bigger picture. But if you stay stuck on the first ideas, I think that is the problem. We never move. We stay in one place, and then until they agree to my own, until she agrees, until that person agrees, until no. Then we must know how to disagree effectively. We cannot all agree, but we can agree to disagree. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I'm going to be moving to the next segment of this event, which is this fireside chat, which is the advocacy. We've talked about collaboration. But now there's the part of advocacy, and the both of you are champions of this advocacy through Diaspora District, through the Fresh Look Africa, through even the events we're currently having right now. This is advocacy. This is a means of advocacy. Why is this important? Why should our voices be heard? I'm going to start with you, Adora. Why do you do what you do at Fresh Look Africa? Why is it important for us to really put our voices out there?
So I'm glad that you're asking this question, because our theme for our annual conference is Power to the Teachers, Elevating Teachers' Voices. And it's something that we are focusing on this year as well, where we're looking at teacher advocacy. Now, I believe, and I may be wrong, right? But I believe that if you're making decisions that have to be implemented by teachers, then teachers have to be at the fore of whatever you are trying to do.
Right.
I see it as an annoying thing and somehow disrespectful that you are making policies, you are developing curriculum, and there is no teacher there. Like you're just dishing things out, and then we have to implement those things. And sometimes we don't understand. Sometimes we are put under pressure. Sometimes the supposed goal that is meant to be achieved is not achieved because we were not there when we were making those decisions, right?
Right.
And so that is why teachers now have to be at the table. They have to be there when you are developing whatever policy. They have to be
Right.
at the fore of decision making. Like, we are the social agents. Like, teachers, let me ginger you a bit. Let me give you some ginger, right? In Nigeria,
Right.
what's the word? Let me Please give me the English word. I use ginger a lot because
Just use
it's nice.
ginger. All of us will take ginger.
Like,
Let's go
you
with ginger.
are the voices that needs to be heard in those rooms because you know your students more than anybody, right? You are the ones that will that you know, like, every student literally, that any government will want to come and tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. You need to have this sense of pride of some sort, that, yo, I'm the one that will still end up using this document that you're bringing my way, and I can choose to use
Right.
it or not. Well,
Right.
even if there may be consequences for your actions, but you are really, really at the fore. You are the social agent, you are the main person, you are the main guy, right? There's nobody like you, literally. And I'm saying all of
Right.
these things because sometimes as teachers we don't see ourselves that way. We just see ourselves as, oh, we are just going to the classroom to teach, I'll do my best for my students, and that's it. But your voices need to be heard at the federal level. I'm using Nigeria as a context. At the federal level, how can they give you, I need to be mad at them for doing that. How can they give you
Mm.
someone who was the minister of health to be your minister of education? You should be mad, you
Okay.
should be angry, you should say
Okay.
something. Yes,
Okay.
some people don't even know that he has
Okay.
no history in education, and then they dumped him on you to be your minister. You
Okay.
should be angry. You should say something about that, right?
Mm. Mm.
But if you don't even know these things that are happening at that level, then how do you even know where to come in as
Right.
well? So you also need to be informed that, these things that are happening, or this particular curriculum is looking weird. Like,
Mm.
why am I seeing these things here? You speak up, because at
Mm.
the end of the day, you're the one teaching your students what they give to you, and it can be detrimental to them at the end of the day if you're not careful.
Right.
So you really need to become informed, then speak up if something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't make sense. Because I put it on my Instagram page, and even when there's someone I look up to, she was also going to have that conversation as well. She said she's going to actually have to invite the Minister of Education to ask questions like, why are you here? Like, why are you in this position? Because you don't even have any track record, you don't have any history.
Right.
They just gave you the position as maybe a gift from the president or something. Like, why
Exactly.
are you playing with our children's futures? Why are you playing with our lives as teachers, literally? So
Right.
yeah, that's you should be mad sometimes, especially in the Nigerian context. I get mad a lot of times, and that also fuels a lot of passion in me to do certain things and just make change as well in the best way that I
Yesterday,
can.
so aptly put. Yesterday, I said, um, our world, our countries are multi-billion-dollar companies. That's what our countries are. They are really, truly multi-billion-dollar companies, and we have leaders that have not done anything in their life before. We have leaders that have not started any business. They have not run any business, and they're the ones leading our countries. Why do you think the problems we're having them? So to bring it down for those of us in the education sector, because I keep widening the scope because we're talking about leadership and we're talking about global transformation. But we're going to have to understand in the education sector are the people that has been given what I call the privilege and the honor to be custodians of formal education and formal influence. So you have to know. All this thing goes back to knowing. You must know. If you don't know, if you are not conscious of what is happening, It's a very big problem. How then can you even begin to address them? So we have been so complacent for so long. We just take it as it is, however it goes. I don't care. And then year in, year out, everything is getting more confusing. It's getting more difficult. You are losing more focus. You're losing more passion. And then you are trying to do other things, and you look back a year or two after, and you said, I really had passion for education, but the country did not leave me any chance. It's because you didn't take note of you didn't get angry enough. Like you said, Adora, you must get angry. When you understand the context and you understand how a lot of these things have been played, you get angry, and most of the times, what that anger will lead to is action. It's either action, when we say action for advocacy, which is where I'm going to next. What is the practical steps that we should begin to, how can we begin to advocate? How can we begin to lend our voices? And Manal, for example, look at what you do with the diaspora district. I mean, this year you're going to be having this conference in Ghana. And you're going to be having one as well, I think, in New York, right?
No, we're going to have like a pre-event in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so you're going to have Atlanta, and then you're going to have the main stuff happening in Ghana. And then when you look at what you are trying to do and what you are trying to accomplish, how can you use that as an example? Of course, if you look at what Diaspora District is doing, the conference, then the Fresh Look Africa, look at what the Educators Retreat through each network is doing and stuff like that. You see similarities across the lines of advocacy. But for the teacher listening, for the person that is in this call listening, how can they begin to effectively advocate? Do they all have to form organizations like this? Or what are the practical ways that they can begin to as of today, begin to lend their voices, begin to have these conversations, express their disappointments, and state their expectations from their leaders?
So first, I would start with understanding conceptually what an advocate is. An advocate is someone who is standing up for the wants and needs of another person. So going, back to Adora's point earlier, if you don't know what that person wants and needs, you're not their advocate. So you're not in a room saying your opinions on things, your opinions about what needs to happen. There's no legitimate advocacy that does not start with engagement with whoever the population is that you are advocating for. If you're advocating for something for your students, what did your students say they needed and wanted? Why? How's it affecting them? Those are all your talking points, especially if you're a person who wants to advocate, but maybe you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. You are the voice of the people you're advocating for. So what are they saying? Those are your talking points, which would bring me to my second point, which is then understanding conceptually, well, then why wouldn't they just say it? Why wouldn't they? Why do they need me to say it? I'm not a savior. Why do I? Oh, it's because I'm privileged and I have access to people they don't have access to. Correct. They can say it, but it won't hit the ears of this person. They can say it, but they don't have the positionality or scope of authority or the I guess, relational influence for people to do something with those words that are said. So understanding that as an educator, as a counselor, as a, building leader, as a political leader, as an educational, institutional leader, whatever role you have as a community leader, you have influence and access to people that they may not, which is why you've been entrusted with this role of an advocate. If you did not have that privilege, they wouldn't need you.
Right.
We're literally there to serve them. It's not, you're not saving anyone. You're not like anyone's superhero. No, if they had access, they would do it themselves. If the school leader listened to the student and the parent and the community member the same way that they do an educator, or if contractually, because you all work together on a team, they would consider what you're saying on the same level, they wouldn't need you there. Granted, I just want to caveat that I think school leaders and educators should be holding equal weight with student, family, and community voice, but they don't have all the touch points. People have jobs, people have things to do. So
Right.
just to sum it up, in your role, in any role, in absolutely any advocacy role, step one is just understanding everything conceptually. What does it mean to be an advocate? And that you don't have any talking points if you have not deeply and authentically engaged with the people you're serving. And then secondly is just understanding, why are you even talking? It's because
Right.
of your privilege. It's because of this access you have. And maybe the most effective thing you can do is use your privilege to remove that barrier. So now
Right.
they are at the table. They can speak for themselves. And in the meantime, while you're trying to lower that barrier to allow them to speak on their own behalf, and
Mhm.
you're elevating their voices to a place that matters equally to yours and whoever the decision makers are in the room, then you advocate for them until you get to that point.
Right.
So those are considerations to have in advocacy across the
I
board.
mean, that's powerful, ladies and gentlemen, because what I hear you say is that as teachers, you have a privilege. You've been given a privilege because the privilege you have is the privilege of knowing the plight of the system. As a teacher, as a school leader, as whatever, that's the privilege of knowing the plight. Understanding the plight already, it already puts a demand on you that if you fail to advocate, then you'll be doing a disservice not just to yourself, but to all people who can potentially be, their life can radically improve by you advocating. So, for example, we're having educators retreat right now. And at the beginning of the year, every year, especially here in Nigeria, the programs you have at the beginning of every year is usually religious programs. You guys understand what I'm saying? It's just religious programs, a lot of religious programs. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, you will have a program on entrepreneurship. No one talks about education, and I'm wondering, where is the yearly evaluation? Where is the yearly evaluation of the things that we did? How do we come together and talk about this as something that is important, especially in this world of social media? And that takes me to my next point, Adora. As we're getting, as we're gradually, hitting the nail into the wood for this topic of advocacy. What is the role of social media? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because educators are so shy from social media. You find every other person on social media but educators. Meanwhile, the people they are educating are now the ones who are all in social media. They are the main users of social media. The people that they are advocating for, the people that they are leading are the main users of social media. Meanwhile, they themselves are not there. Their voices are not being heard, and then they keep complaining from here to tomorrow. This is like this. This is like that. What is the role of social media, and how are you going to encourage educators to pick up their phones and become global advocates? It can be local, it can be in their communities, it can even be in their own school. Advocacy can be at different level, but how can they get into this journey of advocating for sustainable education?
Yeah, so in my mind, I was just telling myself, Adora, Adora. You remember you said you're gonna get a social media expert. So now that you shoot me with the question, I have to, I'll have to speak on what I was thinking about before choosing to do that. Um, Social media is just a tool. It's a tool, right? It's a means to an end. It's just one of the ways you can get to is you one of the ways you can use to advocate. Because everyone uses it, so we have to use it. The people that we want to reach, some of them are there. And I love what Manal said, just breaking it down in the fact that you have to even know the people, you have to know your people, you have to know the people that
Right.
are in your space, the people you've been called to help, or no, not help, support. the people that you want to advocate for, you need to know who they are. And is social media really the place that you want to, is this something, is that a tool that you want to use? So it's also part of the questions you need to ask first. But if you're going to use social media, I think first of all is just getting it right. I think sometimes for teachers, they just come on there, including myself, right? And
Right.
they feel like they just want to talk about, like, maybe for example, they just want to teach other teachers how to
Mm.
teach, right? I see that a
Right.
lot. I do that because that's my own field. I studied it in school and things like that. And I do that on my Instagram and YouTube. I used to do that on my YouTube, but I stopped. I've transitioned from that. But I think it's just understanding, number one, the best kind of platform to use, like, and also you need to even know if it's something that you want to use. Right? Not everybody, like some people don't, I don't know, like some people don't have to use social media. If you have to, all well and good, right? Because there's no running away from social media anyway.
Right.
Right. So I think just knowing, and then also how to use the tool is another thing. I may not be able to speak extensively on how to use the tool, like maybe Instagram and LinkedIn and all that, but telling your story is a great way to start.
Right.
Just coming from that person, your personal experiences, what you see every day, what you hear.
Right.
There was a conversation we're having because I was talking about like teacher security and how recently in some parts of the world, like teachers are now an object of scorn. Yeah, you
Mm.
hear in news that, oh, a student beat up a teacher and things like that. So we're having that conversation like, okay, so how can we talk about these things? And someone was like, can we just open a page where teachers just come and tell their stories,
Right.
and we just like try to find solutions to those problems and things like that, like collectively as teachers? And I'm like, that's nice. I may not be the one to do that. And I think
Right.
that's just understanding, understanding your
Right.
niche and
Right.
understanding what you've been called to do, right?
Right.
So it comes from you telling your personal experiences as like what do you see in your environment? What do you see in your classroom? Um Many people will relate because your context, what you're seeing in your context, another person is experiencing it in their context as well. So it can be, you might see people who relate, and you're able to just use that as a foundation to your advocacy work, if that is what you've been called to do. Not everyone is going to be an
Mm.
advocate, like Manal
Mm.
said. So I
Right.
think that's it. I'm not an expert in this field of social media. I use it to
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
up, to share my stories, but I also, like, I feel everyone, for that, for any work of advocate, like storytelling, just telling your personal experiences
Right.
just helps it make more sense, I just feel.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That those are very wonderful thoughts, Manal. I'm gonna have you double down on this point. And while you're sharing, you know, we're talking about the power of social media here in really helping us driving this change, right? Because we're talking about global transformation, and we're trying to, how do we make sure that what we're even saying is being heard? Today we have the power of TikTok where someone can post a video, and if you have the right sounds, the right um, um, uh, features, and the entire stuff, it can get popular. It can get, and then we've had bills and stuff that has actually gotten into government conversations because they were on social media, and it became viral. It became a viral conversation or topic. So, how are you going to? What is going to be your encouragement on that level? How would you double down on that point? And you can also tell us how Diaspora District is taking advantage of that to make sure that your voice has been heard. Um, and what can educators and leaders begin to do in their own level?
So it's interesting you kind of are ending with the social media point, because it was something that was going through my mind in your initial question about how to connect and partner globally. So interesting enough, the way I met Joshua, we met at the Global Entrepreneurship Festival in Nigeria, but we kind of clicked because he was already very close with my good friend and colleague from Atlanta, Georgia, who was a classroom teacher, and now she leads just global entrepreneurship, women empowerment, diaspora, relational work. She's a leader in that and works in Nigeria and Tanzania, South Africa. She's global. Okay, they met virtually, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad to finally meet you, Joshua. You know, my friend has told me so much about you. She speaks very highly." And he's like, "Yeah, we've known each other for years, and this is our first time meeting in person." I was shocked because they know each other. She speaks very confidently about him. And that's the power of social media. That's the power of virtual relations. And I think that just says a lot. Because now there are these folks from the other side of the world who know someone who knows someone. And now here I am at the e-teachers retreat, you know? And that's just how it works. So I think when it comes to social media, and like Adora said, I'm actually rather new to it with the Diaspora District. I've been getting tips from everyone, but from my assessment, it's really about community building. So you're trying to expand your network. That's why no matter what a person posts, it's typically to gain followers. And then there's like two prongs where you kind of have to analyze your intentions, right? Your purpose. If your goal is just to send a message out and just deep down inside, maybe you just want to be heard. You want to be known. You want to feel important, which are all human things, no judgment. But if that's the thing, those followers are going to mean something different to you. Now, if you're on this other side where you're like, no, I need to build community because I need a group of people to trust me, to advocate for me to their networks so that I move this thing. Now, like with Diaspora District, it's been an interesting strategy because I didn't even know where to start. I just thought, well, let me just introduce myself as the founder, because maybe the more people will get to know me, they'll understand the person behind the brand. And then I'll be able to release at some point, because I really don't like being for the camera like that. I don't like being at the forefront of the brand, but that's all I have right now.
Exactly.
Who's creating these talking points? What is the push and the passion? I need to introduce myself. I need to introduce my network. I need to introduce my team, this line of thinking, who I want to collaborate and coalition build with. Those are things that I'm using it to introduce, so then I can gain some trust with folks. So when I am in a position of advocacy, they know me enough to trust what I'm saying, but I have to earn that. So social media is a tool to earn that globally.
Awesome. So when we're saying social media, we're saying technology, we're saying take advantage of digital technology. I mean, today is a time of remote work and stuff like that. I've been working with, there are several members of my team I've been working with for 5 years. I've never seen them in person. But I tell you, we are family. When I say we are family, I can even boast for some of them that we're closer than the people that they have with them physically, even some members of their own family, their own immediate family. That's how much, you know. And then, of course, the global speakers, every single thing, the connections on the global scale that you see that we pull across all our events and stuff, all these are built also by the power of social media. And what it does, like you said, Manal, and I'm going to be coming to the both of you, Manal and Adora, to give your final charge on this particular conversation as we're wrapping up. I'm sure we've had a very interesting conversation here that we can begin to talk more about. We've talked about a lot of broad scope stuff that, I wish that in the coming days, we're going to be having even broken down conversations in our ETN Connect. I'm looking forward to the program that you're going to be having, Adora, sometime this January. That's during the Global Day of Education. I'm looking forward to that program and several other programs similar to that. And every one of us should equally be looking forward to those. You see, what days today we are pointing out action steps that we can begin to follow through, right? We can begin to follow through. We must get so interested about transformation on a global scale. And if we get interested about transformation on a global scale, yesterday we addressed generational divides. You must be interested in that. This morning we addressed leadership. You must be interested in that. Now we're addressing collaboration and advocacy. You must be very interested in that. Those are different moving parts that can come together to really help us achieve what we want to achieve. It may not be comfortable. It will not be comfortable. Let me just tell you the truth. It will not be comfortable for you to begin to move beyond your primary role, what you are used to, especially when you begin to think about global transformation. It will not be comfortable. You would have to do the things that you are not so used to. I've never been a camera person, honestly. You see me, all of you guys see me everywhere. My picture, my video is everywhere. I've never been a camera person. I learned it because it was a necessity. If I write a book today, let me tell you the truth, it's not because I like writing. It's probably because it's necessary in my part, to be able to achieve the goal that we need to achieve. And that is something I want us to begin to see. As educators, we don't live for ourselves. We don't live for ourselves. We must learn how to live beyond ourselves. And on that note, I'm going to call on Adora in 1 minute, your closing statement. What is going to be the charge, your final charge to educators on collaboration and advocacy?
I'm going to say make connections. I'm going to piggyback on what Manal said. Make connections with people, build relationships, make people go out there, see what's happening, be informed as much as you can, and just know what you can begin to do from today to support the people that you say you want to advocate for. And if you're still finding your path on the road to advocacy or your road to being at the table, just do the little you can do, right? It starts from you as a person. Transform yourself, get the knowledge, get the data, make the right connections with the right people and learn from them, become knowledgeable, because you can't be given an opportunity and then you mess it up because you don't know what you are doing, right?
Correct.
So try to know what you can do when you get to that place of an open door, so some of us are going to get to that level where they are going to seek your advice. Somebody in some place with some sort of power, right, will come to you and say, what can we begin to do? And you don't want to mess it up, right? So don't mess
Correct.
it up. That's it.
Amazing. Amazing. Manal, same question to you. Final words in charge to educators, to leaders listening to you.
Yeah, I think the final charge is honestly to take care of yourselves, because educators are often the most unappreciated yet most valuable and important leader in our ecosystem. And without you all caring for yourselves and caring for each other, and not just building the social emotional learning in our kids, but your own social emotional intelligence to not just influence other people in your advocacy, but advocate for yourself, identify what you need, and advocate for yourself. We collectively will never be able to pour into our students the way that we're describing. So I just want to thank you, give you gratitude, encourage you to take a moment today, after this retreat, to have moments of reflection and gratitude for yourself, for yourselves individually and collectively, and know that the spirit and energy and joy you bring to teaching in the classroom is what will be passed on to the kids. So you are so important. Your mental, emotional, spiritual health, physical health is all extremely important to this movement. So center that. That would be my charge.
It starts with you. That's so beautiful. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Has that been a fireside chat or what? Come on. Have you had fun? Have you enjoyed yourself? Definitely. Of course, this session is being streamed live on YouTube, and you can definitely have access to this fireside chat immediately after this conversation, because we've discussed about a lot of sensitive topics. If you notice, there has been so much sensitivity in the conversations. And I'm glad that we've talked about these things. Thank you so much, Manal. Thank you, Adora. I guess one more question I'm going to ask you guys, and it's the same question. One more question. You know what? Don't worry about that one. Let's not give too much. They've already enjoyed too much. We'll have part 2. Don't worry. We'll have more parts after now. Look at them. Look at you want more. So we're gonna have more programs after now. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to connect with this bright mind. You have to connect with Adora. You have to connect with Manal. So Manal and Adora, yesterday. By the way, before I even continue, let me first of all appreciate the very most wonderful Maxine Crow, who has been here from she was there yesterday, throughout the event yesterday, from the breakout rooms down to the keynotes, down to Dawn's session, to the end of it. This morning, she came in by 10 and she's been here all through, and it's not her session yet. Her session is still going to be in the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the dedication that this woman is bringing. A round of applause for that. That is really, really commendable. Thank you so much for being here. And even before I continue, I think I'm just going to call on you to give a feedback on the conversation that we've just had with Adora and Manal.
Thank you, and thank you. I feel I'm just humbled and this opportunity to share, and feel very, very blessed to be in a position where it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put yourself out there and to be a leader. But once you decide to be a leader and you're on that path, the right things will come to you and gravitate to you because your intentions are sincere and good and authentic. Right. The key takeaways for me is that advocacy, I'll start in reverse order. So with advocacy, and Manal, you touched on it so well, is that understanding the people that you need to surround yourself with to move the needle forward, to move whatever that ambition is or that intention that you have of making an impact. It's about the right people and then when you talked about the alignment piece and assuming that everyone's going to be on the same page as you, the only way you're going to know whether someone's aligned is by communicating and by talking and by sharing your vision and reaching out to a network. But if you're not on social media, which is just a vehicle, look at it as a vehicle. Don't even get emotional about it. It's just a way, and I said it yesterday, to make the world a smaller place, to have exposure to more people, more experiences, more knowledge than you've ever had. This is such an important era in terms of connection. And when you want to create change and impact, you really have to just embrace it. The other thing from Adora in terms of the ecosystem, I absolutely love that and what you're doing. And it's so difficult to, when you dream big, it's not about, they say this terminology, I don't know if you've heard it, eating the elephant. You don't eat the elephant whole. You have to take it in bite-sized chunks. And the key things here is that change doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come quick and fast. think it was Dawn that was saying, was it Dawn or someone was saying you have to be patient, or it might have been this morning. And it's so true. This isn't a rush to the finishing line. It's not a 100-meter sprint. This is the marathon. And every step of the way, there's going to be people that come in and out of your life. Sometimes it's for a long time. Sometimes it's for a short time. Manal, Adora, what you're doing is absolutely incredible. I am just humbled to be in the presence of some amazing educators, and equally learning so much. You're always learning, no matter where you are, at what stage you are in life. So thank you.
Powerful, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very, very insightful an hour 30 or 40 minutes right now talking about this. And if we spent more time here, we would still have a whole lot to talk about. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manal. Thank you so much, Adora. Thank you so much, Maxine. And thank you to you who are here. I keep saying, yesterday in the evening, we had, for day one, we had over 147 people join us in the live call. So I noticed that today, most schools resumed today in Nigeria. In fact, Lady Chinwe, who spoke earlier on, who had the fireside chat earlier on in the morning, was in the school. She's the head of our school, and she actually joined the fireside chat in the school. And I think I need to ask a question. How many of us here, you are currently in the school? You are joining this meeting and you're currently in the school. Put your hands up. I want to see those people. You are in the school. Put your camera. I want to see your camera. Just on your video. Don't just put your hands up. Put on your camera. I want to see those people. You are in the school and you're joining this stuff. Where are they? Where are they? I can see Philip. I can see Ufuma. I can see Moise. Put on your camera. I want to see those people. Ufuma, Moise. Admin, please take down these names. Take down these names. I have a gift for them. Just for showing up. Just for showing up. I have a gift for you. I have a gift for you. 5,000 naira for each of you. Please take down these names. I want to see it. Please. The ones you are seeing their videos. If I'm not seeing your video, you can't prove to me what I'm not seeing. Show me. I have to see what you're showing me, that you were in the school. I've called Pius Philip. I've called Ufoma. I've called Moise Olarenwa. These are the only people I've seen their video. Other people, if I've not seen your video. So take down these names. Each of you, you have, that's my special gift for you, for just showing up, right? For just showing up, just being there. But of course, this evening is going to be the grand finale. Admin, get me the presentation. This evening is going to be the grand finale. Are you excited, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to have a mind-blowing time. It's going to be mind-blowing this evening. Let me just run you through on some of the things that we're going to be doing this evening. Definitely, we're going to start with the breakout rooms. And I want to, let me take this to encourage everybody, from our speakers to the listeners to the school leaders to everyone that is here. You see this evening's event, right? From the breakout room.